Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that many people overlook but can have a serious impact on their lives. Certain objects that invite negative spiritual forces. Whether you believe in demons literally or view them as symbols of negative energy, the truth remains the same. What you keep in your home and life has a spiritual effect on you. Some items act as open doors, attracting dark forces that can disturb your peace, bring misfortune, and create spiritual confusion. If you've ever felt an unexplained heaviness, fear, or darkness in your life, it may be time to look at what you are holding on to. Objects used in occult and witchcraft practices have long been known to carry spiritual significance, often acting as doorways for dark forces to enter a person's life. Many people unknowingly bring these objects into their homes without realizing the potential consequences. Some see them as harmless decorations, entertainment, or cultural artifacts, but the truth is that these items can attract demonic influence and create spiritual disturbances. If you have ever felt an unexplained heaviness, fear, or negativity in your environment, these objects may be playing a role. Removing them is not just about superstition, it is about protecting your spiritual well-being and ensuring that your home remains a place of peace and safety. One of the most well-known occult objects is the Ouija board. It is often marketed as a game, but history has proven that it is far from harmless. The Ouija board is used to communicate with spirits, and many people who have experimented with it report terrifying experiences. Some have heard voices, seen shadowy figures, or felt an unseen presence in their homes after using it. What makes the Ouija board dangerous is that it opens a direct channel to the spirit world, and once that door is opened, it is difficult to close. Spirits, especially demonic ones, are deceptive. They may appear as harmless or even friendly at first, but their true nature is revealed over time. Many horror stories associated with the Ouija board are not fictional. They come from real people who have unknowingly invited dark forces into their lives. Similarly, tarot cards are another occult tool that people often keep without understanding their true nature. Some use them for guidance, believing they can provide insight into the future. However, tarot cards have deep ties to divination, which is explicitly warned against in many religious and spiritual teachings. The reason divination is considered dangerous is that it seeks knowledge from spiritual sources that are not divine. When people turn to tarot cards for answers, they are unknowingly placing their trust in forces that may not have their best interests in mind. Many who have used tarot cards report feeling drained, anxious, or even haunted by a lingering spiritual presence. What seems like innocent fortune-telling can lead to deeper spiritual bondage, making it crucial to remove these items from your home. Spellbooks and ritualistic items used in witchcraft are also common doorways for demonic influence. Whether it is a book containing spells, a cauldron used in rituals, or a wand designed for casting energy, these objects carry a specific spiritual charge. Many spells involve invoking spirits, channeling energy, or attempting to manipulate reality through supernatural means. The problem with this is that it invites forces that are often beyond human control. Some people who have experimented with spell casting later find themselves experiencing strange occurrences. Objects moving on their own, eerie whispers, or an overwhelming sense of fear at night. The reason for this is simple. When you call upon spirits, you do not get to decide which ones respond. Some may appear helpful at first, but over time, their influence becomes more sinister. Removing such objects from your home is the first step toward breaking free from any negative effects they may have caused. Voodoo dolls and other ritualistic figures are among the most dangerous occult objects to possess. These dolls are often used in rituals designed to influence or harm others. But even those kept as souvenirs or decorations can carry spiritual energy. Many cultures that practice voodoo, hoodoo, or other forms of spiritual manipulation believe that objects can be imbued with supernatural power. If a voodoo doll was ever used in a ritual, whether for love, protection, or revenge, it retains that energy. People who have kept such objects often report nightmares, unexplained sickness, or a sense of being watched. The best way to ensure these objects do not bring harm is to destroy them completely. Certain symbols and artifacts also fall into the category of occult objects that can attract demons. Pentagrams, inverted crosses, and sigils used in witchcraft all have specific meanings in the spiritual realm. Even if someone does not actively practice witchcraft, Keeping these symbols in their home aligns them with the energies they represent. Many people wear clothing or jewelry with these symbols without knowing their true significance, unknowingly inviting dark influences into their lives. Some symbols are designed to summon spirits, while others serve as marks of allegiance to occult forces. If you have any of these symbols in your home, it is wise to remove them immediately to cut off any spiritual connection they may have. Cursed objects are another category of occult items that people often keep without realizing the consequences. Some objects, especially those obtained from antique stores, flea markets, or foreign lands, may have a history of being used in rituals or dedicated to spiritual entities. Objects used in satanic or pagan ceremonies can carry spiritual attachments that linger long after they have changed owners. Many people who unknowingly bring cursed objects into their homes experience misfortune, disturbances, or an unexplained feeling of dread. If you have an object that makes you feel uneasy, trust your instincts. It may be carrying a spiritual presence that does not belong in your home. Even seemingly innocent items, such as books or artwork that celebrate darkness, can serve as open doors for demonic influence. Many books on witchcraft, demonology, or the occult contain rituals and invocations that were designed to summon spirits. Even if someone does not actively practice these rituals, simply having the book in their home can create an atmosphere where negative energy thrives. Similarly, artwork that depicts demonic figures, violence, or dark themes can subtly influence the spiritual environment of a space. Removing these items and replacing them with things that promote light and peace can make a significant difference in a person's overall well-being. Ultimately, the presence of occult objects in a home can have a profound spiritual impact. Many people who struggle with constant anxiety, depression, or fear do not realize that the objects around them may be contributing to their emotional and spiritual struggles. When dark forces are given a foothold, they do not leave easily. The best way to break free from their influence is to remove anything that serves as a connection to them. Removing objects used in occult and witchcraft practices is a crucial step in protecting yourself from negative spiritual influences. Whether it is a Ouija board, tarot cards, spell books, ritual tools, or symbols associated with dark forces, these items act as doorways that allow demonic presence into your life. Many people experience unexplained fear, nightmares, or disturbances without realizing that the source of the problem is something they own. By removing these objects, you are not only cutting ties with darkness, but also creating a space filled with peace, clarity, and divine protection. If you have any of these items in your home, do not hesitate, get rid of them today. Your spiritual well-being depends on it. Idols, cursed objects, and superstitious items have long been associated with spiritual influence, and in many cases, they can serve as doorways for negative forces to enter a person's life. Many people unknowingly keep such objects in their homes, either as decorations, sentimental keepsakes, or cultural artifacts, without realizing the potential spiritual consequences. While some may view these items as harmless, their presence can invite forces that bring confusion, fear, and even oppression. Throughout history, various cultures and religions have warned against the dangers of keeping objects linked to false worship, occult practices, and superstitions. Removing these items from your home is a necessary step in ensuring that your environment remains a place of peace, spiritual clarity, and divine protection. One of the most common forms of spiritually dangerous objects is idols. Idols are physical representations of deities or spiritual beings, often worshipped in religious or mystical practices. These statues, carvings, and images may come in many forms, from small figurines to large monuments. While some people keep them purely for artistic or cultural reasons, their spiritual significance should not be ignored. Many idols were originally created for worship and have been used in rituals where spirits were invoked. Even if someone does not personally worship an idol, having it in their home can create an atmosphere where dark spiritual forces feel welcomed. There are countless testimonies of people who have experienced nightmares, strange occurrences, or an overwhelming sense of unease after keeping idols in their homes. The reason for this is simple. These objects were designed to serve as a connection between the physical and spiritual realms, and that connection does not disappear simply because someone views them as decorative. Cursed objects are another category of spiritually dangerous items that people often unknowingly possess. These objects may have been used in occult rituals, given as gifts with bad intentions, or even passed down through generations with a history of misfortune. Some cursed objects carry negative energy because they have been dedicated to dark forces, while others may have been manipulated through spells or rituals designed to bring harm. People who own such objects often report feeling an unexplained heaviness, experiencing repeated misfortunes, or sensing a negative presence around them. In some cases, cursed objects can cause disturbances in the home, such as flickering lights, cold spots, or even physical sensations of being watched or touched. If you have an object that has brought nothing but negativity into your life, it is wise to consider whether it may be spiritually compromised. Removing and destroying such objects is often the only way to break free from their influence. Superstitious items are also a significant concern when it comes to spiritual well-being. Many cultures have objects that are believed to bring good luck, ward off evil, or provide protection. Some of these include lucky charms, talismans, amulets, dream catchers, and other symbolic items that claim to possess special powers. While they may seem harmless, the problem with these objects is that they shift a person's faith away from divine protection and place it in an object. This opens the door for deception as people begin to trust in these items rather than seeking spiritual guidance from a higher power. Additionally, many of these objects originate from belief systems that involve spirit worship, ancestral veneration, or magical practices, which means they carry the energy and influence of those spiritual traditions. People who rely on such objects often find themselves facing unexplained fears, anxiety, or even oppression as they unknowingly place their trust in something that cannot truly protect them. Artifacts obtained from ancient religious sites, temples, or burial grounds can also carry strong spiritual energy. Some people collect such objects out of curiosity or for historical appreciation, but they fail to recognize the spiritual significance these items may hold. Many ancient cultures practiced forms of worship that involved sacrifices, spells, or invocations of spirits. Objects taken from these places often carry residual energy from those practices, making them spiritually unsafe to keep. Some individuals have reported experiencing strange dreams, hearing voices, or even witnessing unexplainable events after bringing such artifacts into their homes. This is because the spiritual connections associated with these objects do not simply disappear when they change ownership. If an object has been involved in spiritual rituals, its energy remains attached to it, making it a potential source of negative influence. Jewelry, clothing, and accessories with occult symbols are another category of items that can attract spiritual darkness. Many people wear these symbols without understanding their true meaning, believing them to be trendy or artistic. However, symbols have power, and many are directly connected to ancient occult practices. Pentagrams, inverted crosses, sigils, and other markings used in witchcraft or demonic traditions carry a spiritual significance that should not be ignored. Wearing these symbols can act as an unintentional invitation for dark forces to influence a person's life. Even if someone does not actively practice occult rituals, simply aligning with these symbols can create an opening for spiritual deception and oppression. It is always important to be aware of the meaning behind the objects we keep and wear, ensuring that they do not serve as a connection to negative influences. Another overlooked category of dangerous objects includes second-hand items with unknown histories. Many people purchase antiques, used furniture, or second-hand jewelry without considering where these items came from or what they may have been involved in. Some objects have a history of being used in rituals, placed in homes that experienced intense negativity, or even owned by individuals who were deeply involved in the occult. When these objects enter a new home, they sometimes bring with them the lingering spiritual influence of their past. Some people have reported feeling uneasy, experiencing unexplained illnesses, or noticing increased tension and negativity in their home after bringing in second-hand items. If an object feels spiritually heavy or unsettling, it is always best to pray over it or remove it entirely. Ultimately, the presence of idols, cursed objects, and superstitious items in a home can have a profound impact on a person's spiritual and emotional well-being. Many people who struggle with anxiety, fear, or a lack of peace may not realize that the objects around them are contributing to their struggles. Spiritual influences attach themselves to objects that have been dedicated to them, and unless these objects are removed, their presence remains. The best way to ensure that your home remains a place of peace and clarity is to remove anything that does not align with light and truth. Idols, cursed objects, and superstitious items serve as potential gateways for spiritual oppression. Many people unknowingly keep these objects in their homes, unaware of the influence they carry. Whether it is an idol that was once used in false worship, a cursed object that has a history of misfortune, or a superstitious item that promotes reliance on false spiritual power, these objects can invite negative energy into one's life. By removing them, individuals can break free from spiritual bondage and create an environment that promotes peace, clarity, and divine protection. If you have any objects that fit these descriptions, do not hesitate to get rid of them. Your spiritual well-being is far more important than holding on to something that may be causing harm. Let go of anything that does not serve your highest good and embrace a life free from unnecessary spiritual burdens. Music, movies, books, and clothing that glorify darkness, violence, and demonic imagery are often overlooked as sources of spiritual influence. Many people believe that what they consume in entertainment and fashion is purely harmless. But the truth is that these things have a profound effect on the mind and spirit. The things we expose ourselves to shape our thoughts, emotions, and even our beliefs. When we constantly surround ourselves with dark themes, negative messages, and imagery associated with evil, we unknowingly open doors to negative spiritual forces that can impact our lives in ways we may not even realize. What seems like simple entertainment or a trendy fashion choice can become a subtle invitation for darkness to take root. Removing these influences is essential for maintaining a positive, peaceful, and spiritually healthy environment. Music is one of the most powerful forms of influence. It has the ability to shape emotions, thoughts, and even actions. Many people listen to music without considering the messages behind the lyrics or the spiritual energy it carries. Some genres of music openly promote themes of violence, rebellion, hatred, and even direct references to demonic activity. Lyrics that glorify death, destruction, immorality, and occult practices are not just words. They carry an energy that can have a real impact on those who listen to them. The problem is that music has a way of bypassing conscious thought and going straight into the subconscious mind. When someone repeatedly listens to songs that celebrate negativity, they begin to internalize those messages, whether they realize it or not. Over time, this can lead to changes in behavior, mood, and even spiritual well-being. Many people who constantly consume dark and aggressive music struggle with anger, depression, and anxiety without realizing that what they are feeding their minds is contributing to these struggles. If a song glorifies things that go against peace, love, and righteousness, it is worth reconsidering whether it belongs in your life. Movies and TV shows are another major source of spiritual influence. The entertainment industry has become increasingly obsessed with dark themes, particularly horror movies, supernatural thrillers, and content that glorifies demonic activity. While many people watch these movies for fun, they fail to recognize that constant exposure to such imagery has a spiritual effect. Horror films, for example, often depict possession, rituals, and supernatural evil in a way that normalizes them. Watching such content repeatedly can desensitize people to real spiritual dangers and make them more open to accepting dark influences in their lives. There are even reports of people experiencing nightmares, hearing whispers, or feeling an eerie presence after watching certain films. This is because what we see and focus on has the power to manifest in our reality. The human mind is highly impressionable, and when it is constantly filled with images of fear, terror, and evil, it begins to reflect those things in everyday life. If a movie leaves you feeling disturbed, anxious, or fearful, it is a clear sign that it carries an energy that does not belong in your life. Choosing content that uplifts, inspires, and brings peace is far more beneficial than filling the mind with darkness. Books are another area where people unknowingly invite negative influences. Many books today, particularly in fantasy and horror genres, are filled with themes of witchcraft, demonic possession, and supernatural forces. Some books go as far as including real spells, invocations, and descriptions of occult practices. Reading such material may seem harmless at first, but just like music and movies, books have the power to shape thoughts and beliefs. Some people who immerse themselves in dark literature begin to feel a pull toward the supernatural, developing an interest in occult practices or experiencing spiritual disturbances. The mind absorbs what it is fed, and constantly reading about dark and evil things can create an internal environment where fear, doubt, and confusion thrive. Instead of filling the mind with content that glorifies darkness, it is much better to choose books that encourage wisdom, strength, and positivity. Clothing is another area that many people do not consider when it comes to spiritual influence. The fashion industry often promotes trends that feature occult symbols, demonic imagery, and messages that glorify rebellion and death. Shirts with pentagrams, skulls, inverted crosses, and satanic messages may seem like just a fashion statement, but symbols have real spiritual significance. Many of these symbols have been used in rituals and occult practices for centuries, and wearing them, even unknowingly, can align a person with the energies they represent. Clothing is a form of self-expression, and what we choose to wear says something about what we accept or support. If a piece of clothing features images or words that promote darkness, it is worth reconsidering whether it belongs in your wardrobe. Wearing symbols that have a connection to negative forces can subtly invite those forces into your life. Choosing clothing that represents positivity, light, and righteousness can have a much better effect on both personal energy and spiritual well-being. The cumulative effect of all these influences, music, movies, books, and clothing, can shape a person's spiritual atmosphere. Many people who struggle with constant negativity, fear, or anxiety do not realize that what they are consuming and surrounding themselves with is feeding those emotions. Dark influences do not always come in obvious form. Sometimes they enter subtly through entertainment and fashion. The more a person surrounds themselves with negativity, the more it becomes a part of their thoughts, emotions, and even their reality. Recognizing this and making a conscious decision to remove these influences is a powerful step towards spiritual freedom. Some may argue that entertainment and fashion are just personal choices and do not have any real impact beyond enjoyment. However, the truth is that everything we expose ourselves to has an effect, whether we acknowledge it or not. Just as a healthy diet affects physical well-being, a healthy mental and spiritual diet affects emotional and spiritual. Feeding the mind and soul with darkness will eventually produce darkness, while filling them with light and truth will bring peace and clarity. Music, movies, books, and clothing that glorify darkness, violence, and demonic imagery are not just harmless forms of self-expression, they are doorways that invite negative spiritual influence. Constant exposure to such things can shape thoughts, emotions, and beliefs in ways that lead to fear, confusion, and even oppression. Removing these influences from your life is not about fear or superstition. It is about making a conscious choice to protect your peace, clarity, and spiritual health. If you find yourself drawn to entertainment or fashion that promotes negativity, take a moment to ask yourself why. What we allow into our lives shapes us more than we realize. Choosing to surround yourself with positivity, light, and uplifting influences will not only improve your emotional and mental well-being, but will also create an environment where peace and spiritual strength can thrive.